Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. We're back after a fortnight hiatus. The boys took a Fourth of July week off. It was tough to find a recording time with some traveling going on amongst the weave, but we're back. I'm your host this week, Jim Root. I've got Kai McEwen and Matt Cox both here. Fellas, how are we feeling after a little bit of a rest? Matt, I'll go to you first. You ready to get back into it?
Born ready, Jim. We're going to reshape college basketball for the better today. So big changes abound. Just the power that we wield, Kai, with the powers that be. We know someone important is always listening to this program, and today we have some very, very important recommendations for how to improve a sport that, by the way, is quietly already improving. We'll get to some big news today on the selection process improvements, but there's some positive momentum. I see a glass half full ahead of me in the crystal ball of college basketball, Kai.
Yeah, that's good, Matt, because I feel like it was a lot of pessimism recently with all the realignment and the talks of expansion and the big schools wanting their own tournament. So it's nice to get a little bit of a win with this recent committee announcement. But we'll get into that, of course, in Roots Roundup. Hi, I'm doing well, Jim. Thank you for asking.
Of course, the sky is not falling, folks, but that doesn't stop us from having some ideas, as Matt referenced. This is the meeting of the Three-Man Weave Rules and Oversight Committee. We're going to come up with some potential tweaks to the game. As I said, I think in the burner, the Discord or something, it can be as simple as moving the three-point line or as sweeping as like changing the entire fundamental structure of the sport. We're going to go through all different kinds of ideas, go through the pros and cons of each one. We each have some blind ideas that we don't know. The other two don't know what the ideas are going to be, so it's going to be some live reaction. That'll be fun as well. But we'll get to that shortly. Before we do that, we got to give a shout out to Jay Pitty, Mr. Joe Paskov, the composer of our opening tunes there, the intro song that gets us ready to pod every single week. Got to make sure we let people know to subscribe to the pod on both iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is you're listening to audio mediums. And of course, also subscribe to us on YouTube, where this episode is streaming live right now. And the chat is not moving yet, but it will. Surely people are looking to talk to us on Thursday night in the chat. If not, that's fine. You can listen to it after the fact. But hey, also, if you're gonna listen and you're gonna subscribe, why not leave a review? Tell us how we're doing. 5 stars, preferable, of course. But we have no reviews this week. So
I'd say
Matthew,
enjoy your happy hours, Jim. Enjoy your happy hours, but then come back, open the YouTube link, and then hit the like button. Yeah, you can do after the fact. That's also very much encouraged. So
there you go. Yeah. I did a little happy hour of my own yesterday after the England big victory, Matthew. It was a good time celebrating
for Queen and
country that I don't
Mr.
live
McKeon.
in. Yes.
For Queen and country. King and country.
Yeah, you guys are weird.
I just like
to root
pretending
hard for
and
England.
cheering for.
I don't understand this. I don't understand this trend. It's
the USA
bizarre.
Stinks at soccer, Kai, and I watch all of those guys play weekly in the Premier League, so that's part of why I'm familiar with most of them. So that's it. Yeah. Hey, Euros. All right. Big soccer talk for the Three-Man Weave. But yeah, leave reviews if you feel so inclined. We don't have any this week. We typically do those at the end now. You can throw in questions, but we will not have any when we get to the end of the pod. Shout out to the Discord, the burner, which we are members of and active participants in. We have released a sample of our previews that are coming. They're going to be starting in 11 days as we record this, July 22nd. We're going to have a top 50 daily countdown with one preview released each day, leading all the way up to number 1. Also in 4 days, we're going to release a top 100 players list that always goes over smoothly with no flack or constructive feedback. We're excited about that. We've been debating a lot behind the scenes, discussing who's crazy among the weave and who needs to move some guys down. It's funny who each guy is going to bat for. We'll have all that be public on July 15th, and you can only get access to that list in the burner, $6 a month. Link should be in our bio. Easy to join and well worth it. We just had an Ask Me Anything AMA with Todd Kowalczyk, the head coach of Toledo. So people interacting directly with a sitting head coach right now. You can't get that anywhere else besides the burner. We highly recommend getting in there and being part of the CBB world.
What a fun AMA that was, by the way, Jim. He was great. Fantastic.
Yeah, you could tell. My question was, what was your biggest misgiving about doing something like this? And he just wrote typing. because he's not a slick technology guy, but he was very much a fun open book, kind of giving behind the scenes answers. Matthew, you were able to kind of help make that happen, Mr.
He had every right to like blow us off after we had like 3 or 4 hiccups with setting up the actual, getting him in. It's tricky to get someone as a guest to the Discord. Very easy to join. And if you can't join, by the way, please DM us. We'll gladly walk you through that. However, for a guest, a non-member, to bring him in, it's been a little bit tricky. But we got that figured out, and he was an absolute warrior and just gave some very refreshing, candid responses. So sneak peek teaser, I'm trying to get Mr. Greg Campy to saddle up and be the second victim of the Discord chatsters. But no, I think just a redeeming sign for how awesome our Discord community is. Just great questions and even better responses from TK.
Yep, absolutely. Matthew, well said. Fellas, that's it for the intro. We don't really have anything super exciting in the personal corner of the world. So we're just going to move into Roots Roundup, get you some news and notes. But first, Matthew, we got to give a little shout out to CVB Analytics, which I have been living on in our preview season as we are writing furiously and constantly every single day. Lots of great data on CVB Analytics. Yeah,
I have to. I actually am using it even more than I thought I would, almost at the expense of other sites out there, Jim. But it is that good. The best 30,000 view of all the numbers. But I think where I've been finding the value is in the nitty gritty details in the weeds. The player shooting charts. You have the splits by conference and non-conference. I was just looking at the NC State preview today. They were a different team the last 10 games of the year. You can actually isolate the shots that they took, their opponent's shots in that time frame versus when they were just sort of in a no man's land transfer half the year. I guess until Kevin Keats figured out that DJ Burns was probably a pretty good post passer. All that aside, the underlying data is very much findable and sliceable on CVB Analytics. Check it out. And if you sign up, you get to use our promo code WEAVE. Get a $40 off subscription. I think it's been the best bang for buck data sub that I've used in the last year. So shouts to Nick and all the stuff he's doing. He's doing some continuous improvement stuff too. I think adding some new features with that. So I think we've seen some people who have subscribed already told us, hey, thanks for telling me about this. Did not know it existed. So yeah, we're giving you the insights. So just follow our lead. And for coaches out there, I know there's some of you who are looking to get kind of the holy grail of access, maybe some scouting report, all hands on deck type of data also available in the pro tier. Wink, wink. Just make sure you email us or DM us or Nick at CB Analytics directly to get you set up. We know some assistants who are out there using it to their advantage. So check it out, Jim.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could go on that site every day and find something new that I didn't know was even a feature. There's just kind of like endless possibilities on it. It is a great tool. Okay, news and notes, fellas. We alluded to it in the intro, but the big key headline in the world of college basketball announced this morning, a tweet from Mr. Norlander, got it out in the ether. The NCAA has officially added a new metric to team selection sheets for the NCAA tournament selection. And it's Bart Torvik, T-Rank. Bart has had a terrific analytics website, kind of a KenPom equivalent, but there's some different tools, some functionality on there. You can kind of sort by dates, as Matt was mentioning with CVB Analytics, and it's been a free tool. So very, very pumped for Bart to have his rankings included alongside KenPom and the net, etc. And also, there's now going to be a net-based wins above bubble ranking on there or metric, which Matt, we talked about a little bit on the pod before, how much we like that idea because it is a continuous scale. Every single win or loss matters. It doesn't just isolate games to Q1 and Q2. There's no arbitrary cutoffs between the quadrants. So it's a very informed and helpful system. And even if it's not like the end all be all, it is a great piece of information for the committee to have.
Yes, it's amazing. I can't really add much more than that, Jim. I'm glad we don't have to deal with oh crap, so-and-so team won, and then the team they beat dropped, and so our Q2 wins now a Q3, and it's like that shouldn't be so arbitrary and so discrete. Right. We now have a continuous metric that is far more digestible, and you can compare it side by side in like one. It's not like, oh well, team one had 3-1 versus the Q2. It's like, well, team two was 4-0 versus the Q3 and 10-0 versus the Q4. It's like you just cherry pick back and forth, and like it's not a helpful debate process. So now you actually have a standardized metric. I love it, Kai. I'm in on it. Go bracketology.
I do like the WAB. I'm confused with the BART inclusion. It's not that different than KenPom. the top 4 teams were the exact same. 9 of the top 10 were the exact same, or at least same teams. I don't know what it. I love BART. I use it I reference it all the time, but it seems redundant to include it with KenPom. That's just my take. Not no harm, but I don't think it adds a whole lot.
How dare you speak out against including more CBB analytics people at the table? However, I agree with your general sentiment. Like if you're trying to build a portfolio of different metrics, like I guess I see your point with that. However, still, 2 is better than 1, and especially when 2 is really, really, really good and really, really, really reputable. So to me, this is, whatever, like a no-brainer addition. Like just
it's better than like KPI and like all those other.
Yeah, we've basically extinguished a lot of the antiquated stuff at this point. So that's good. Again, just evidence of more progress back to my earlier top of the show theme.
Yeah, well, one of my biggest complaints was that they used to have 3 predictives on there, not including the net. Had KenPom, Sagarin, and Massey, and then Sagarin stopped doing his, and they just didn't replace it. It was like, all right, we'll just have one less one now. And like, does the ultimate laziness, like it's not hard to put a new one on there. So I'm glad that they at least filled that void, and there isn't just like the empty Sagarin spot. It's now Bartorvik. Like Kai said, it's going to be pretty darn similar to what KenPom is spitting out, but perhaps that's helpful and people get to see it. And kind of to what Matt's saying about WAB, we have not erased the quadrant system. It's still going to be big time talking points. People are going to talk about Q1 records and Q2 and try to compare those things. But at least there is something on the sheet that is truly apples to apples and rates every single game, includes every single game, because there's a point where mid-major teams don't get rewarded for going like 10-0 against Q3 because those are the only games they get. And that should actually matter. So performing above expectations in those should matter, and it now does in WAB, and we are very excited about that. So welcome.
Good for mid majors. Yes, good point. Very good point.
Yes,
generally good.
Yes, indeed. All right. Other news. I was listening back quickly to one of our older pods, and there was the Dan Hurley is staying at UConn news break, not taking the Laker job. Well, here's why he stayed. Kai, 6-year contract, $50 million. Not quite 10 a year for Mr. Hurley, but hey, you win back-to-back national titles and you get a lucrative contract. That's just the way things work.
Yeah, congrats, Dan. Way to go, man.
Guy's super thrilled for him.
I'm tired of
Kai,
it.
would you take a 6-year, $50 million deal to be part of the Weave?
God, yes. Ugh, man.
Are you sick of UConn? Are you over UConn?
I'm very sick. I'm very sick of UConn. No offense, UConn fans. Your team's great. Your program's amazing. But I'm tired of hearing about him. I really am. I've
dynasty guy.
I've seen Hurley in a press conference a million times. I'm good. I'm over it. I'm over the shtick.
Oh, I like him in the presser. I like Dan.
Kai, would you rather see
predictable what he's doing? What he's going to do now?
Kai, would you rather see another Hurley clip or a Bronny clip?
Hurley, obviously. Bronny's one of the worst things that ever happened to basketball.
Yes, I totally agree.
Just the nepotism is incredible. Yeah.
I said something on Twitter today about like, we're going to do this rules change podcast. What would you guys like to see? And Stuckey responded to me, ban UConn from the tournament. Like, all right, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We'd have a little bit more competition in the future because they just demolish everybody. But yeah, congrats to Mr. Hurley. He's going to be around for a little bit longer. I think Matthew's muted, but that's okay. I'm going to keep talking. Recruiting news, nothing in the class of 2024. There are a few international commitments still happening here and there. I saw Washington got a guy over the 4th of July holiday, but looking at the class of 2025, whole bunch of 4-star commitments. This is kind of a big period for that. The summer, very live recruitment period right now. Gonzaga got a top 30 player, Davis Fogel. Matt, Fogel, hi.
Fogel, hi.
If he doesn't have a fake ID that says McLovin waiting for him on campus in Spokane, that is a huge miss.
I just saw McLovin. I think Billis actually tweeted like he just turned 40. That's too high. That's too old. Maybe it's 40.
No, that might actually make sense. He was like 25 in the show. Super bad.
Right. So his fake was probably, I think the numbers add up there. Great tweet by Billis. I know he's been on thin ice, but I just want a quick shout out there as a tangent, Jim.
Good. Other commitments here, Iowa State and Ohio State each got top 50-ish guys. Jamarian Bateman, combo guard to Iowa State. Another guy from Wisconsin, TJ Otzelberger, continues to have a heck of a pipeline back to his home state. And Dorian James, 4-star shooting guard to Ohio State. Jake Diebler, recruiting well there. Providence got another commit. Kimmy English has been a great recruiter. I think Friar fans would
Sure.
want us to admit that and own that. And of course he has been. Small forward, Jalen Harrell, top 100 guy to Providence. And then Christian Gurdak, a center, headed to Virginia Tech. Matthew, we are confused by the Mike Young roster construction this offseason, but he is continuing to work on the
Long
recruiting
term,
trail.
baby. Big picture.
That's right. That is it for recruiting news. We don't have any other news and notes. So, fellas, let's get into the heart of the podcast, the Rules and Oversight Committee. Basically, like I said, this could be as big a change or as small a change as you like. We're going to go around, maybe just like give one each, discuss as we go. I've got a few. I'm sure Matt and Kai definitely do as well. And then we're going to discuss them at the end that come from either Twitter or the burner, or they're just like generally discussed things that we don't want to see happen, or perhaps we do. But if we don't get them mentioned in any of our own personal ideas, we'll try to cover them at the end, some of the more popular ideas. Matt, I'm going to start it off. I'm going to kick it off with what I think is maybe not the most like urgent has to change thing, but it's the thing I want changed most. And that is non-conference scheduling. I want there to be some guardrails, some rules. My ideas would be you have to play at least 2 road games. And for a Power 5 team, one of them has to be at a mid-major. You have to every single year. It's mandated. You can only play like 5 bye games. I'd like to see those limited. I would love to limit neutral site games.
I agree. I had that exact thing written down. I think like a max to neutral sites.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how to like what it should be. And obviously your MTE games would not count in that, but just like all the really good Power 5 versus Power 5 that they play in a neutral NBA arena instead of on campus. Give me more campus games. I don't know about all the economics of this, the buy game, like small schools need the money, so they have to do that. So I can't fully evaluate that. And that probably is why there can't just be like one central scheduling office scheduling czar, because there's so many different economic things to consider. But I want some guide rails where you have to kind of check a few boxes, and it just would make for better games in the non-conference. Matt, it sounds like you agree.
I hard agree. And a lot of these neutral sites, it feels like that's where the money is, right? We see the NIL thing that's popped up in Vegas. It just seems like when we get these big non-conference power conference clashes, they just always gravitate toward the MTEs. I think you just tend to get better locations, easier to agree upon from both sides, because it's only like a 1 year, maybe just a 2 year thing. But man, the erosion of the home environments in college basketball. Like, I mean, I have a crazy idea coming up here. It's like I'd like to see some more NCAA tournament games played on home ice, as the hockey junkies would say. So I like home and home gyms. I'm with you. Like, I think neutral sites have their place. The tournament's a special thing. The MTEs, a couple of one-offs, but I feel like it's going to go the other direction. We're actually going to have more MTEs among the powers that be to sort of, consolidate really, really good non-conference scheduling across leagues.
Yes. Hey, Jim, I wrote down the same thing. It's the same idea as you. Yeah. Make power teams play good.
What are your specifics? Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if you had specifics.
It was general. No, it's like, yeah, we should talk Kowalczyk. Very on topic here with his recent performance in the Discord. He said nobody will come to Toledo and play them because they're really good. They're afraid they're going to lose, but it should be mandated. And someone had the idea of doing it in state in the Discord. Sure, you can start with that. Like, make Ohio State play Toledo at Toledo. Something should happen, and I know there's a lot of incentives that go against that, but it'd be great for the fan base for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that you could start with baby steps, and maybe it is that like Power Conference has to play a road game at a mid-major. Like, that's one you could easily factor in. I don't think it's going to affect finances in really any way. It's not like sapping the supply of buy games for schools that rely on it. Would love to see it. I think it would create some incredible environments. You see, like when Auburn played at App State, or North Carolina has played road games at mid-majors. We've got Alabama going to North Dakota this year. I just saw today Rutgers is playing at Kennesaw State. It's like an Ace Bailey kind of homecoming type game. Like I like to see schools doing that, even if it's like for a player. Like UNC played in Iowa for Harrison Barnes way back in the day. Like, that's great. I'm okay with it. Let's get those games going and showcase some of those mid-major environments, because they can be electric. All right, Matt, let's go to you. What's your first idea to propose to the committee here?
I'll stick with scheduling 2 conference games to start the year. I know we've sort of done the moving conference games up to November and December. Some people, and the coaches hate it, but I think it's such a cop out because it's sort of it. A lot of teams, as we've seen in the portal era, like some are really good right away, right? Like, all right, they're coming out, they're playing strong, and whether because they have a lot of guys back, or they're older, or they just kind of click to start. Other teams may not have guys eligible, and guys hurt, and so they play really well late. And I know there's like this big push to like everyone wants to be like playing well toward March, but we sort of I feel like have some disincentive of seeing your best ball out of the gate, like in college football, and you just have more of an intrigue factor where you're coming out, game 1, game 2 against a power conference. Like Auburn Baylor last year was like, who knows what's going to happen? Like both coaches would probably rather not play that game. They like to, maybe play 2 or 3 patsies, feel good about themselves, and then walk into it. But I love just kind of coming out of the chute with 2 conference games that matter. Obviously, the back end is going to be mostly conference anyway, but at least it gives you a team that may start off really well, that maybe kind of hits a wall or has a key injury late in conference play. I think it gives them a little bit of a leg up as we've sort of over tilted the slope or the importance of this conference versus non-conference part of the year.
What would you say to the people that want the last 12 metric back on
That's what I
NCAA
see.
team sheet?
I don't like that. I'm with you on that. However, I do think you can kind of balance the importance of the overall schedule out with something like this, where you're not overly incentivizing teams to just play really well late. Like I think there should be equal weighting given across the board with that. And I think naturally you'll probably see, I don't know. I think generally we tend to gravitate subconsciously towards the last 12 meeting more than it probably should anyway, Kai, whether it's on the team sheet or not. And I don't know how I feel about that, but I just feel like that's already a sort of, you know what I mean? It kind of comes in.
All the laymen out there, Matthew, refer to it all the time.
Not us.
The committee
Not
does not. They said they don't anymore, and it probably factors into their head a little bit.
Which is fine. Which is okay. That's fine.
I have a comment about the committee also for later on, but yeah, I don't like conference games early. Actually, I want to see more.
Yeah, I know.
I want to see better non-con games. I don't want to see, like Jim said, limit buy games. Have more intriguing power mid-major games. It feels weird having conference games so early.
Can I flip this, Matt? And I'd say I like the idea of 1 or 2 really big non-con games later in the year. Like I love the SEC Big 12 challenge. Like I know some coaches were like, why should we care about this game in late January? It's like, well, you're getting a Q1 or Q2 game. Like why shouldn't you care about it? You get 30 all season. You should care about all of them. Like it doesn't matter with it's, I don't know. If you care about NCAA tournament selection, every game should matter.
Especially for the power leagues, right? They should definitely matter for them. Like I get how I even Todd Kowalczyk said this someone asked about the Sun Belt versus MAC challenge. Like I think as fans, we love that kind of cross conference, sort of brings back the old, what was the
Bracket Busters?
Bracket Buster. Thank you.
Yep.
Love that. But for the mid majors, like it doesn't really make sense economically at all. Like it's sort of a hassle in their regimen of the in conference, logistics and planning. And TK said like, yeah, it kind of crushes our budget. So I want to find a way to actually bring more of those, but in a way that makes sense and that's feasible, which sounds like no mid-major will ever do that after I feel like the Sun Belt Max got in a bad rap, that challenge. But I love it or it makes total sense for the power conference, right? To get more, that game should always mean something to them. If you're a tournament team, that should always matter.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of Bracket Busters was like this, where they leave an open date and it's just like, all right,
yeah,
to be announced game, but tying it back into the previous idea, what if that's the date where a power conference team has to play at a mid-major, and at that point they already know who the good mid-majors are? I feel like that's always the nervousness is like, oh, we could lose to a team that ends up being bad and it's a Q3 loss or something like that. At that point, you kind of know, all right, this is going to be a Q1 or Q2 game. Even if you lose, it's not going to hurt your resume. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall right now.
And it gives you a chance to reward that mid-major. Indiana State, they didn't make the tournament this year because they lacked Q1, Q2 wins. In February, you say, okay, Indiana State, Duke's coming to town. You get Duke. If you beat Duke,
yeah,
you're probably going to make the tournament. I think it's a great idea. Now,
would
the
awesome.
power conference teams hate that? Yes, absolutely, especially the ones in the bubble, but fun for us.
Yeah, that's one that would have to be like, come down from the top. They are mandated. No one's doing that voluntarily. But it would, man, I would love it. Would love to see it. Okay, Kai, how about you? Your first idea for the committee?
Oh gosh, Jim, where should I go? Well, conference schedule adjacent, or we'll say, break up the conferences. This is quick. Yeah, let's redo what we just did. The mega conferences need to go. 18 teams is ridiculous. You're not going to get a balanced schedule. If you do, it's at the expense of non-conference games. It's horrible. Football has divisions already, which is basically small conferences. Break them
Right.
back up. Break them back up, Jim. Make them more geographically sound, all that jazz.
Yeah, once they get to the power conferences, get to 20 teams, just make a 10 team East, a 10 team West, play a double round robin with the East and the West. They don't have to cross over.
Yep.
Make games against the East or the West a non-conference game. Yeah, that's one of my ideas too. 11 teams max in a conference because every conference season should be a double round robin.
Yes.
I believe we've got like the Ivy
Yeah, I agree.
and the SoCon are like some of the few that still have the true double round robin. Yeah, it's just not as, it doesn't feel as pure without that, and I want it back.
I agree. I think it takes away like the coaching angle of like you played a team and you got to play them again, right? Like just all the cool strategic stuff that people eat up about the NBA finals and how teams adjust game to game and how the better coaches set like that. That's all. That's just like basketball junkie porn. And so I love having the round robin part of that. Sorry, censor myself there. With college basketball, it's just like that's a no-brainer to me. So you're right. It's going to be small sub-conferences that will just eventually like name like the Sun Belt when the Sun Belt dissolves, and it'll just be like this like time as a flat circle thing where we just basically end up in the same place we are now, but it's under the same Big 12 umbrella or the same SEC umbrella as one of the parent conferences.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
So stupid.
the SEC East and the SEC West don't play each other, but they're all in the same TV deal, so who cares?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, let's just find a way to get back down to smaller, less unwieldy conferences. Yes, 100%. Great one, Kai. I'm glad we were on the same page there. I'll go with a controversial one here that I think Kai disagrees with. I don't know where Matt lands on it, but I'm gonna support 4 quarters. I'm ready to go to bat for 4 quarters.
I'm with you.
Here's a couple of reasons why. It's 2 more chances for end of like clock type situations where smart coaches can kind of get rewarded. You can go 2 for 1. You can kind of have a chance to draw something up late when you're playing against the clock. You got 2 more chances for buzzer beaters during game, which is always fun. Everybody loves that. The one tweak I'd have on this, well, I guess one of the other advantages is resetting fouls. So if a team gets in the bonus quick, it doesn't happen for 17 minutes of the second half. One tweak I'd have on it is I would still keep 1-1 for at least the first bonus foul of every quarter, because I love 1-1. And I think that encourages strategic thinking from coaches, strategic fouling. How do I use this foul where if they miss the first one, they don't get the second one? And that's one of the beauties of college basketball right now is it's the only sport that has 1-1. So Kai, I will at least offer that olive branch with my quarters here.
Yes, don't take my 1-1. Now, Jim, I know we're talking about changes. I fear change in general. So the halves to quarters thing is unnecessary to me. So I want to keep the halves.
Okay.
If we do quarters, which will happen, someone asked about what will actually happen. This will happen. I need the stoppages between quarters to be like nothing. I mean, I need it to be like a TV timeout. We cannot have the hockey intermission crap, like commercial, like 10-minute commercials. Can't happen. That's the only thing.
I don't need, we don't need to go to a studio show.
Yes. No studio
Yeah, we can
shows.
skip that. Yeah, we can skip.
We really should. Honestly, we probably should really dissect studio show people, like the people they put on for the studio shows. A lot of them are horrible, especially during the NCAA tournament, but that is not on my list, Jim. We don't have to go down that path.
Oh, we can always go down that, but we just make a whole bunch of enemies. What a great idea. That's real smart to do.
Throw haymakers. It's July. Who cares?
Yeah. Matt, your thoughts on quarters versus halves as you take a sip? I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Slightly into quarters. Yeah, I thought about the timeout stuff a lot, and I didn't actually come to a good like idea. But like something is like, do I really hate are there too many timeouts? Are there too many stoppages? I was like, I don't know if they. I feels like there are.
The only thing is like the back to back needs to stop. I thought we were getting rid of that. Like when a foul happens at 4:01, that should be the TV timeout, and it's not.
Yeah, well, it's also like the tough ones are when they don't have a stoppage from 16 to 12. And so
Two in
then
a row.
11:58 and 11:51
Right.
are both TV timeouts.
Right.
And it's like, because of TV contracts, I think there's no way to get rid of that. And that's one of my favorite like complaints about, or not complaints, but hesitations with quarters is people are like, well, you do one TV timeout in each quarter and then the quarter break, and that's only 3 breaks. And right now we have 4. Like, this is solvable. The WNBA does like two
Yeah,
TV
right.
timeouts in one quarter and one TV timeout in the other. So it's 4 per half, same thing. That is such an easy fix. There's no reason not to switch.
It doesn't have to be balanced. Like the Q1 versus Q2 TV timeout doesn't have to be balanced. You're right. Like there's not like more people watching the first quarter versus actually, I don't know, maybe there is. Hey, that's an opportunity for the advertisers to be smart or strategic or creative. I don't know.
If quarters happens, Jim, you mentioned the fouls. Teams like Houston become even better. Fouls don't matter as much. They get free reign. There's like little trickle down effects here.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the fun things of this discussion is like, oh, shoot, what are the unintended consequences? Right. Like, obviously, I'm trying to fix one thing, but maybe I'll create another problem. And yeah, well, actually, just real quick, because I don't know if either of you wrote this down, but now that you mentioned fouls, do we want to keep it at 5 or do we want 6 fouls per player?
6 per person, no question. However, I just like it for star players. I know that incites subjectivity in refereeing, which no one wants, right? But I hate when like key guys are saddled with foul trouble. Now, this is mostly a coaching issue, and coaches sit their guys too long, and they probably should be more aggressive. Like Nate Oates has been, you know what I mean?
I was just looking at St. John's page today, and they're dead last in 2 foul participation. So
like Patino is like, I have done it since the way that dinosaurs walked the earth. If my guy's got 2, he's sitting. So coaches could just evolve, and we want him to change it. But I think 6 fouls, Kai, to your point, maybe incentivizes too much fouling, and that kind of gets back to like the choppiness and stoppages of the game. I don't know. I mean, as long as the team fouls stay the same, it's probably fine. But I don't know. That's a tough one for me.
There's little nuances about college basketball that make it so special, and that's just one other thing. It's like, hey, what if your guy fouls out? Another opportunity for an upset to happen. It's just like it adds chaos, and I like the chaos of college basketball.
Yeah, chaos is good. Yeah. What if you could pick one player on your team each game that got 6? Like the coach gets to designate a 6 foul guy.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
And you're like, oh, we're playing Zach Edey, so I'm going to use my big guy. Yeah. But normally it's my star guard that I use my 6 fouls on. Like I would have a blast. I love the idea of just like more strategy. It's I was talking to somebody yesterday about like the NL taking away or adding the DH. And it's like, all right, well, coaches do nothing in baseball. Now they do even less because they don't have to worry about pinch hitting for a pitcher. So yeah, I just want more decisions to be made, more strategy. All right, Matthew, over to you.
The shot clock thing, I think I think we're into what you're saying, Jim. Let's not touch the shot clock.
Okay, good.
Sort of
I agree.
along the same. Yeah. I'm open to the, I hear Ken Palm's argument. And Fran Fraschillo is a big believer in this as well. I think they're very cogent arguments. Totally agree that we're sort of stuck we're like, people who are vehemently against it, I think are like, not really, they haven't lived in the 24-second world enough. And I think if we just did, we'd probably be more okay with it. Like we grew up in Europe or, we're just diehard NBA guys. I think it probably, we'd normalize to it over time. And I think it could help players get better. But like, I think, again, that's why college is so unique. And it doesn't I don't think it really inhibits the development of players going professionally. Maybe that's an argument against it where it's like, oh, all these guys that play really slow, like Wisconsin or Virginia, are they ready to play in the NBA? Like, can they make these? And I don't care enough about that.
It's not a minor league. It is not a minor league. It's not the goal of college basketball.
Isn't that one of Fran's main arguments? Get that one out.
And now we have NIL. It's a professional league now anyway. So it's like literally a lot of these kids are actually going to make more money or a bigger chunk of their, time adjusted value of money in college. Baycott just said he made about $2.5 million or something like that. We'll see what he makes professionally, but yeah, college is not a feeder program, Jim. It's it's its own entity. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm adamantly against this. This is kind of just what Kai was saying. The things that make college basketball unique is having a little longer shot clock, which enables way more stylistic choices for a coach. You can play way more different ways. And I think that's very important and part of the beauty of college basketball. And especially because the difference in talent level is so different from team 1 through 5 versus team 300. They shouldn't have to play the same way. It should not be homogenized basketball. They should have choices on how they want to strategize. If they want to play slow to limit possessions, let them. If they want to play super fast, let them. We don't need to take that flexibility away, Kai, when it is so imbalanced talent-wise with so many different teams.
Yeah, it makes sense when you have a professional league with equally talented teams, more or less, and college basketball makes no sense. You don't want to watch the American East play 24-second shot clock. It's not going to be fun. Upsets will be less and less and less. You're not going to get 15 over 2 as much. You're not going to get 16 over 1 as much because more possessions equals the better team wins more times than not. It would really hurt the game. It would really hurt March Madness. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, you could argue it would make the upsets even more awesome, I guess. But no, I'm with you. I just think the status quo is don't touch that.
This is one where it, like the arguments that are being made for the 24-second shot clock, like Matt's saying, are like more player development type stuff. And like the people that are pro 24-second shot clock never rebut against the cases we're making here. Like there's nothing about like the talent spread,
which are objectively very subjective cases.
Who are we developing?
Like, it's just us.
Are we developing
being purists?
We're developing the 200 players that play pro in Europe and the NBA. What about the other 8,000 players? Like it's just like think about the NBA development. No, 60 guys get drafted a year, and half of them from Europe. I don't care about that.
Right. Well, isn't that the point though? Is like guys, that's why there's more international guys coming over because they're being groomed at a more accelerated rate, and so that's why they're actually eating into college guys' spots.
I think it's a little overblown. I think it's a little bit cherry picking. My opinion.
That's a fair argument. I agree with that, but I think there's so many options. You have 360 options to go play college basketball. Like you can pick one that will put you, if you feel like that's going to really disrupt your trajectory as a player, you can pick a college that will probably be at par with the best international development. Like surely Gonzaga is going to be pretty good for you, right?
It's also kind of funny, like percentages, right? Like, okay, well, why isn't like 80% of the NBA from Serbia? It's like there's one or two guys. Yes, they're the best players in their country. It's mostly American still. Our development is not a problem.
We'll see what the NBA draft looks like in 10 years, but we'll see.
Matt, to your point about like being able to pick a place that's conducive to your success, that's a point for teams playing different styles. Like if they're all playing the same way, then you're picking who you have like the best coach relationship with. There should be I would be better in Virginia's system than I would be
a differentiation
in Alabama's
ability. Yeah, I agree.
Like
totally.
That should matter. And I think it's good for that optionality to exist for players too, not just for my aesthetic enjoyment of watching stylistic clashes. So I'm glad you brought up that point. Kai, over to you.
Oh gosh, here we go, Jim. Oh boy. What am I gonna do? Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. Yeah. Oh, can I do like a weird coaches thing real quick?
Please.
It's not really a rule, but it's like hey coaches, be smart and do disadvantage fouls. Come on. Like let's be analytically thinking here. If you're backpedaling 2-on-1, foul the guy. Foul him. Stop the play.
Okay, but
drives
then I
me
want
crazy.
I want that banned then.
No, if it's in front of you, why not? Just go for the ball. Try to get a steal. I think it's
NBA has this
no-brainer.
now. I think WNBA has it too. A transition take foul, which I kind of like because the problem with that, Kai, while it is smart, it takes away a fun play.
It does
in basketball,
sure.
Like fast breaks.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. I want there to be a price for taking that type of play out of the sport.
Yeah, don't touch that. Kai, this goes to your point. Five fouls, Kai. Kai, you keep it at 5 fouls. This helps your point.
That's more a message to the coaches. We don't have to make that change. Let's do a different one because that wasn't very good.
That is fair, actually, Matt, to your point. Yeah, if it goes to 6 fouls,
yes,
then taking fouls becomes easier and less punitive.
Replace the committee with people who actually know ball. People that write about it, people that analyze it for a living, those type of people, not ADs of colleges that have 30 other sports, not guys that don't watch a single second of college basketball, and not guys that can't explain why a team is left out versus in on the selection show. I mean, that was embarrassing. Replace the committee with people that know what they're talking about.
Yeah, people that watch the game all year. It's like, okay, if this guy was assigned these 3 conferences, but he's voting on all 31 conferences, so he should have to know every one of these teams. He should have had to watch every single team play. And yeah, I would kind of love it if it was like a full-time position, but you probably can't justify like salaries for that sort of thing. But
How
yeah,
should
it's
we
like
can?
it's such a secondary job to them. It's not that important. Some of them have agendas like, hey, the AD of Notre Dame is incentivized to get Notre Dame in the tournament. Like,
Right.
why do we blatantly let these conflicts of interest exist?
Yep.
And
Yep.
like that's a problem too.
Power conference conflicts. Yeah, it's all. I
Oh, Matthew. Okay.
Wow. Matt
excuse
almost
me.
lost it there.
I have a hot take. It's so hot,
Yes.
my voice just flamed out on me. I'd be fine with like a machine picking
So would
the
I.
field. Just a criteria.
As long as it's
like,
not a black box and everyone knows what the
yep.
criteria is. I do
Yeah.
think
Or-
you need
or
a little human
furthermore-
element, I think, because it's impossible.
Furthermore,
but
yes, exactly. You have, for example, you have a cutoff of the model. So like, or the outcome where it ranks all the teams, whatever the output is, whether it's by WAB or something else. And then it's not like the top 68, but like the top 80. And then the last 10 or so are, you can deliberate amongst humans, but you have a pretty strict cutoff where you're not letting teams that like are truly not worthy bleed into the field, where I think you'd probably eliminate like Virginia type of mistakes.
But if you
It's funny,
follow
Virginia would have
bracketology,
easily been in the field in WAB.
It
It's just
was-
funny.
oh, actually, they
it
were
wasn't a
okay.
mistake.
God, bad example. Shit. Okay, never
It's-
mind. Just a criteria then.
it's the uneducation of the masses about selection. It's you, and you get caught up, like you said, Matt, in the last 10 games, or you watch a team like Virginia play a horrible game. You're not paying attention to the other 29 games or what it says in their resume,
Yeah.
or the fact they went 13 and whatever in the ACC and finished in third place, and yet ACC's barking about Virginia. It's really that issue, the social media stuff.
How many
Yeah.
people are in the room, Jim? Is like 15, 20, 10?
I actually don't know. Let me guess.
He doesn't need to be
12?
more than like 3 is fine. We don't need more than like 12 is too many people.
Actually,
like what? We doing 12?
Maybe don't go
12.
pencils down on like Friday when there's
Also,
like
that's
8
it. I agree.
tournaments left to be played on Saturday, Sunday, because they do. If you're a 1 seed on Friday, you're a 1 seed on Sunday, no matter what
Yeah.
happens on Saturday or Sunday in the tournaments. It's
Yep.
kind of ridiculous, Jim.
Yeah, we've seen it with examples of like, oh, this spot was reserved for the potential winner, and it's like, yeah, Duquesne had no business being an 11, and I know they won, but it's still like that's results oriented, that they didn't process deserve that seed. It is 12 people, by the way. What a great guess. How about that?
Yes.
Just looked it up. All right. Okay. Next up, I will go with something in the realm of NIL and transfer and just like contracts. I think it's probably
Yep.
best to do contracts and buyouts.
I like that category. I have 2 in
Matt's
this category.
Okay, Matt's holding up a 2. You can sign any kind of, like, you can sign a 4-year contract with the school, but there has to be some sort of punishment for leaving. Then they could say it could be stipulated in a legally binding contract that you have to pay back your NIL, or you have to pay a separation fee, or you have to sit out a year. Like, I don't know if that's enforceable or something, but having some sort of actual contract where a player can't just transfer all 4 off seasons, can't just test the waters and come back out. Like, I get why it's good for player freedom, but there is kind of we've crossed a Rubicon where it'd be great to have a reason for people to stay, or at least a barrier for them to leave. Put it that way.
Jim, I kind of like your point you said a little bit there. Testing the waters, even not allowed. I think that's a really good point to put in a contract, because you add uncertainty to your roster building when players do that. Not the NBA, by the way, transfers, like transfer market, I think. But
yeah,
contracts in the next frontier, absolutely. I would even be in for like kind of like an NDA or non-compete style where you can't transfer to an in-conference team. I think that's enforceable. I think giving up NIL if you transfer early, coaches have contracts. I think players can. If players are seen as employee status, I think they should be able to do contracts just like coaches. They make it public as well. Make it public. No more shady NIL. We have no idea who's getting paid. Make it public. Make a market for it.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to have all that data to go off of. And in the burner, Kyle was like, "What do you think will happen?" I think within 10 years there will be a players' union that collectively bargains an agreement where it probably will be you transfer once without penalty, and then if you transfer again, you have to sit a year. And I think that would be a great policy if that was collectively bargained. They're not going to just sue because they have to sit out. I'm totally okay with
the
that.
exception of coach change or something like that. And it shouldn't be a review process. It should be automatic. These are the things. Let's not go
Yeah.
through an appeal for 8 months and not make a decision.
Very black and white for those. Yes.
Yep. I was going to say, is there a way to do like a transfer tax, a transfer of like Arkansas NIL pool to James Madison, or I don't
They
know,
take a
how about like
transfer from a smaller
Marshall?
school. I like that.
You
have
have
to
to
like
have it.
buy them out
Yeah.
somehow.
It'd have to be between like competing, or like it couldn't be like between Marshall. It had to be like Marshall's NIL group, right? So like they bring in a kid, even these kids in mid majors, they're probably getting small NIL things, right? So in that contract, if you leave the school that pays you, you're entitled to just 10%, right? I'm not saying like anything substantial, like Great Osabor, or these guys that made $500,000, like maybe 450,000 and 50,000 to the tiny schools. That you could argue from a, I don't know, a humanitarian effect. It's like, these kids deserve all the money. Like, why are we siphoning some of the schools? It's like, well, no, it's going to go to smaller schools, and I think the general ecosystem of college sports and just for education in general is better with more schools, more competition, helping some of those kind of financially strapped ones with some sort of equitable, again, relatively small, but at least there's some monetary recoup of that, I guess, if you're a small school, getting pillaged by the big boys.
Yeah.
For big money especially.
Another way of doing that, and I didn't even write this down, but it's one I've supported and once I think proposed on Twitter at one point. But if you take a non-grad transfer from any school, that the school that the guy is leaving can host you either the following season or the next season. They have the choice. Like maybe they won't want to, but if it's like Xavier is just picking off Conference USA guys left and right, well, Western Kentucky can host you 2 years down. Like you have to go play with them.
I like that. Yeah.
This is like if you just constantly fill your roster with mid-major all-stars, you have to go to those schools and play road games at them. Now it gets tricky with a school that has 12 incoming transfers, and now suddenly their whole schedule is taken care of if all 12 schools exercise that right. So there'd be some like minutia nitty-gritty you'd have to sort out. Maybe you stagger them over a bunch of different seasons. But I just think I love the idea of like, all right, we just keep pulling from our in-state rival mid-major schools. Well, now you have to go play there if you want to keep taking your guys.
Compensation for smaller schools to their NIL collective, Matt, to your point, is a good idea. These guys offer some of these guys that transfer up and become stars. Their only offer is a Stetson or a Queens, for instance, and they get no compensation when that player leaves in 1 or 2 years. And they're like, "Wow, I identified this guy, I took a chance on him, I developed him, and now I get nothing. It kind of sucks, and now I have to start from scratch." It's a good idea. I don't know how you're going to enforce it, but it's a good idea.
It's very like European soccer model where like, all right, the not as rich clubs sell their studs for a ton of money to the better teams. And
they at least get money out of it, right? Like in colleges, like you get nothing. It's just the only thing you have is like a reputation of like, oh, we develop players that are going to be great big conference players. Hi, I'm Andy Toole. Look at me, Robert Morris. Had a bunch of guys transfer up. You can come here and you can leave. A lot of guys have done that, been very successful, but like that's really like kind of an empty, hollow sales pitch for the salesmen, right? Like you get nothing out of that. That's tough.
But you can't use it for any other purpose besides giving it to more players.
Yes, exactly right. It's a strictly NIL pool, right?
So it doesn't go line pocket. Yeah, exactly. They make enough money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I kind of like that.
Jim, last thing I had here was the NIL player retention incentive, sort of like I think someone mentioned this on another somewhere in the ether, like the bird rights and NBA contracts, where the team that has the player has there's a pool of funds like the NCAA or across, like there's a pool of funds that are dedicated to all like multi-year players, and so for every year you stay, you get like probably it realistically be like a small annual bonus, but like some like retention bonus for staying at the school. You could almost frame it like an educational incentive, because there actually are real educational incentives to staying in one place. We've seen how many kids just get completely screwed by graduation trying to transfer credits back and forth. That's not a great educational experience, like actually. So something like that, maybe you could get some administrators on board with trying to incentivize kids to stay at the school that they start at.
Yeah, all kinds of that stuff. Like because of where we've gotten, it's gone so far to player freedom where getting it to swing back a little bit. We don't have to go back to where we were, but I'm with you, Matt. Yeah, swinging back that way would be good. All right, Matthew, to you for your next idea.
How about this one? Jump ball goes to the defense every time.
No.
No?
Jump ball is an actual jump ball.
Yes.
A tie up. Sorry. Thank you. A jump ball. Sorry.
No,
I
I'm saying, no,
I
I'm,
want
no,
the
I'm,
jump ball. I want the jump
I'm saying a tie up is a true jump ball.
Oh,
like it
okay.
is in the
Every time.
pros.
Absolutely.
Nah, I don't like that. I don't like it.
Why not?
Why
I
defense?
just think most jump balls are usually it's usually a positive defensive play or a negative offensive play. It's sort of like I think banked threes should be turnovers. Same type of
I love
unless you
little
call
ones
bank,
like that.
unless you call bank, and it's part of the review process. If you call bank, you can challenge. Did he say out loud? Did he say it loud enough? You have like microphones on the guys.
It's like, do we have a camera view of him saying it out loud or not?
Bank. It's like, yep, got it. Okay. But something like that where I don't know. I just feel like the defense in a world where we're going to get, I think, more and more offensive. It just seems like everyone's shooting threes. We're trying to, we're removing the block, removing the charge from our game, trying to kind of, enable offensive scoring at a higher rate. Although I guess the NBA kind of went the other way this year with the way the refs stopped calling fouls altogether. But anyway, I like having some sort of defensive, a defensive bump for what feels like sometimes an unfair imbalance between the two, the way the game's going.
I think I could get on board with that because generally I agree with the premise that it is a bad offensive play or a good defensive play that results in it. It just gets hairy if it's like a scrum at midcourt, who was offense,
right.
Who was defense.
It's who had the possession last, the other team gets it. So like off like a long rebound, if there's like a scuffle for the ball or something, it would be the defensive rebounding team, the team that almost got it would get the ball the other way.
Okay. All right. Kai, how about you?
About what? A new rule, Jim?
A new rule, unless you had further thoughts to add there.
I was going to piggyback a little bit because Matt was like, yeah, we got to give the defense some advantages. So I'm taking one away because I want the charge to be like restricted even more than it is currently. I think it's a dangerous play. I don't think it's a good basketball play. But to compensate, I think there needs to be more literature around there about what is a good defensive play. Like blocks don't need to be called every time. You're allowed to hit the guy or whatever. Hand checks. Bring back hand checks a little bit. You can put your hand on the guy when he's dribbling like the old NBA used to do. Give them that sort of incentive. Take away the charge.
Man, I hate handsy defense is so.
Handsy defense.
I don't like rewarding that. I don't like rewarding that.
Yeah.
Well, there's certainly teams that do the. I always complain about Bob Huggins press Virginia, like they just foul so much that you can't call it all. I'm sure some people would say maybe Houston does a little bit of that. Like
I would say that, Jim. I would say that.
Well, that's why they're like dead last in free throw rate every single year defensively. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of okay with it. I just a couple of hand checks here and there, Matt. I'm fine with it.
And go further on the flopping too. Flopping. Get out of the game. If you fall down on a three, keep calling it a tech. Like just
no, Kai. I just think this rule got overcalled this year. This rule got overcalled this year.
It was overcalled. It's too subjective.
It's got to be so blatant. It's got to be so blatant. I know, but I think they've been over. The problem is that it's such a subjective call, and we put that in the power of the ref. Like the referee competence is already under question. The charge rule removal sort of takes a very subjective type call out of their hands more, right? Kind of makes more black and dry. I think the flop thing brings back a subjective element that I don't think the refs are in a position to call earnestly. I don't know.
Not a tech. Turnover. Have a turnover. We'll say not a tech. And same if you throw your head back when you're dribbling up the court. Turnover.
Yeah, no one does. That's not a natural move. I don't get why.
It's like,
we have bigger fish to fry here. We have bigger fish to fry. We're not going to solve that today.
We could do, yeah. The head throw bothers me way more because it's just like not a natural move. You're just doing, you're clearly just trying to sell something. The like falling on a shot, sometimes you're like worried about if there's some feet under you and it's like more safe or you feel safer like sliding down. So I don't want to put all those in the same category, but I'm with you on the head toss, Kai. I hate it.
I mean, hey, compared to the NBA, we're doing pretty good, right? Like, I think in terms of embellishment or flopping,
but where do you think they learn it from?
The NBA is way worse than we are.
What? They learn it from the NBA, and then kids learn it from high school and the NBA, or college and the NBA.
That's the player empowerment in the NBA where the players can just eviscerate and berate officials with that kind of drives me nuts too. All right. Semi-controversial maybe here. I want to cut down Division I to like 250 teams.
Jim, I hate this so much.
Jim, I had relegation as a sort of offshoot of that to a point.
You guys make me sick.
Well,
sick.
Not really.
It
Sorry, not
it
relegation.
doesn't.
Like,
It's
but
going to be like 420 teams at some point. Why does it? I don't. Why does it need to be that?
250 is too little. 300, fine.
Okay. How do we determine who we cut though? I don't know.
yeah,
I don't
no,
have
it's
an answer
tough.
to
So
that.
here's the hybrid solution, Jim. Was we have a relegation promotion type system where the bottom, I don't know, whatever the cutoff is. I was going to Ken Palm's conference tracker to see which conferences really feel like D2 leagues. Like I would say the MEAC, Patriot, Southwack, NEC.
Have fun trying to put down
It's
all
right.
the
It's tough. I know it's
HBCUs.
tough, but
You're going to get canceled if you move all
well, I'm
HBCUs
just saying,
down.
just no. So go.
You
I
said
think
Patriot.
even
Patriot has a lot of
Patriot,
Ivy League schools
Patriot.
there, and
Yeah.
great
I think it's
institutions, but not
Patriots,
great basketball.
NEC, Patriot, NEC, SWAC, MEAC,
Southland.
maybe Southland. I don't know.
No,
Nah,
I
I'm kind
disagree.
of. You're right.
Keep all the leagues.
Okay.
This is ridiculous. FCS, FBS does it because I think in football the difference in size is a little of a safety thing. In basketball, there are so many talented guys playing in these smaller conferences, and we've seen upsets left and right. That doesn't happen in college football. Like
You only need one
an
or two
FCS
players
team
to
is not going to
elevate
beat
it. Yeah.
an FBS team unless it's like North Dakota State. In college basketball, it happens literally all the time because the talent is more flat. It's spread out a little bit flatter in the game. I think you keep them all in there. I just love it.
The scholarship limits is the key thing there, right? Because the FCS doesn't have they have 24 less scholarships or something. So they actually don't have the same number of good
Correct.
actual players to field. And in a game that's 11v11, that's huge. But you're right, 5v5. The playing field can be leveled pretty quickly with one or two good guys. But my point with Jim is there's a lot of D2 conferences that are in that sort of ilk of those bottom five or whatever, where you could just expand that to 150, and you have some fluidity between D1A and D1B, where you kind of can focus, you can hone your focus, but then you also have this fun pool of D1A where it's more like-minded competition. It actually opens up to even more fun teams if you're into the 500 team D1 thing, and you have, I think, higher stakes at the upper end of that D1B, for promotion, and then relegation at the bottom of the D1A, in the, America East or something. Actually, America East might even be I don't know. You're right, though. The leagues is harder to decide. As I went through, it's there's no good choices.
There are also really
here.
good teams in some of those leagues. So it's
exactly. Right.
Patriot,
we don't have to send Vermont because it's pretty.
Yeah, Vermont. Yeah. It's not getting relegated.
This is more just it feels too unwieldy. And even with 250, you'd still get upsets. There'd be David versus Goliath, underdog type thing. So it wouldn't be gone entirely. It's just the fact that it's 364 and counting, and it's going to get up. That someday it's going to hit 400 makes me grumpy, but I guess it was 315 years ago. And it's not the sport is broken by any means. This is more just for my tracking purposes, I'd like to not have 364.
Yeah, there's a lot. Too many.
I'm getting low on ones I actually believe in, but there's other ones
I have
we'll
a really
discuss.
good one.
Okay, Matthew,
I
to you.
still have one in the holster as well. Matt, go ahead.
Good.
You'll both, I think, you'll both definitely not like this. So I think we've butted heads over conference tournaments. You guys love them. I think they're fun, but I don't like the how it awards doesn't always award the best team the ultimate crown, which is for most conferences to just make it to the tournament is sort of your championship for the year. Just be honest about it, right? It is. The conference regular season winner is allotted the auto bid. There's the conference tournament then happens. If the regular season champ wins, they're in. If another team wins, then there's a 3-game home and home regular season champ versus tournament champ. So the regular season champ gets one last stand to defend the crown that they did defend for the majority of the season, but they didn't win the tournament for whatever reason, probably sheer luck. Now, the problem with this is that we talked about the round robins. Without that many round robins, then the conference tournament winner is now even harder to assess. Back to your point, Jim, at the opening, it's that's what sucks about the lack of round robins now is even this idea, which is brilliant, doesn't quite work as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind you have to beat them twice kind of thing. If the conference tournament winner has to beat the regular season winner one more time, best of
maybe
three
just one game
or 3 game would be tough.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, it's all right, you won the tournament. You have the lifeline as the regular season champ of, all right, you still have to beat us one more time at our place. And if you do, by all means, you earned it.
You earned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the regular season one, it's like one and done format. And after a 2.5 month grind, just losing it in one game is tough. But that is, I guess, sort of the beauty of college basketball.
I don't hate to play them again, Matt. That's a good idea. And if they ever expand the tournament, they need to have 2 auto bids per league. And I would hope that would happen and do regular season champ and conference tournament champ.
That'd be great too, because the amount of like bubble teams that are just cheering for the regular season, like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
similar to now, but it's like, let's just get only 31 auto bids because every regular season champ
Yes.
also won the tournament, and then there's a whole ton more
And that would open it up,
bids
right?
available.
Yeah, it's like not a guarantee 2 auto bids. It's you have to win either one. I think it's a fun idea. There you go. Another
Yeah, then
but don't
then
expand
you
the tournament.
then you get league like the regular season champ throwing the tournament final, so the
It's
league
the
gets
league
2
war.
bids and can get more.
They don't even have to play really if they don't want to. They'd already have the auto bid.
Yeah. This would somebody propose this. I think it was I can't remember if it was Twitter or Discord, but I kind of like it. It would end up devaluing a random conference tournament here and there, but if you go undefeated in the regular season, you are automatically the conference the auto bid representative. I think that's kind of fun.
I
Like
think that's cool. Yep.
if you are that good where Vermont or Grand Canyon wins every single game, you shouldn't have to worry about the tournament.
I
Like
agree.
you have crossed the threshold. I think that'd be cool.
Plus, we want you in the tournament. We want that team in the tournament.
And the league should want that team in the
League should
tournament
want that team in
too.
the
They're clearly the best
tournament.
team. So yeah, I liked that tweak. And I was going to write, like, even if nobody brought it up, I was going to say, should have the debate of should the regular season champ get the automatic bid. I do like that, Matt, where they have like what isn't that a thing like in a like wrestling, pro wrestling, where it's like you get the title fight or something afterwards.
Yeah, you have to reclaim or I don't know. Yeah, not a WWF guy, Jim. I was more of a I was a WWF guy. Was that the one with Steve Austin and The Rock?
I
Now
know
it's
nothing about either
WWE.
one.
It's either E or F.
Kai?
It's
I
either
feel
E
like
or
Kai
F.
had a take there. Okay, yeah. Okay, never mind.
But yeah, you have that like last second. All right, we lost in the quarterfinals. And Ty Kowalczyk would probably love this. 1 seed lost in the quarterfinals. regular season.
Hey! Come on!
I'm saying this would be good for him. This would be
It
good
would be.
for him.
Taj
Get the
is nodding
Rockets back in the
yes.
tournament. Yes.
Correct.
Get the Rockets back in the tourney. Kai, what's your big last one?
Okay, we're talking about reviews, Jim. Our sport is perfect.
Oh yes.
The only thing that's wrong with college basketball is the end game and reviews. I hate them. I hate the end games now in college basketball. The last 2 minutes, it's ridiculous. In my opinion, human error and refereeing is part of the sport. I kind of believe this in every sport. To be fair, the replay stuff has to stop because there's no reason we need to have 5-minute stoppage for a ref to scrutinize who the ball went off of. It's insane. Yes, some calls will be missed. That sucks. It's part of the game. That it needs to be part of the game. It's going to happen, bad calls, but it makes it so much more enjoyable at the end of games. Part 2 is especially also goaltend reviews. The fact
Can we
dissect number
before
1,
we go to the
yes.
goaltend one?
Yes.
Yeah, love that. Complaining about like a missed call is fun. Like
Yes.
that's part of the
We
sport.
lost 'cause
Like,
of
oh, we
this.
got screwed. But yeah, that it kind of related to it. One way to maybe fix it is make it challenges like the NBA,
Sure.
where a coach gets 1 or 2 a game, and if you win the first one, you get the second one, and those are the only reviews that happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be great, and
I hate that still, but I'll give you that, Jim. I like that better than what's going on right now. Yes.
it at
Kai,
least
it's the best
minimizes it.
suggestion. It's the best suggestion for the podcast. I was saving it for my last one. It's the most obvious one. It's a no-brainer. Jim, I love the challenge angle. I love especially the players who have to then go lobby to their coach to use it or not use it. And half the time they're
If
not
they
even
get it
being
wrong.
honest. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
like LeBron's
Coach,
like
I touched the
having
ball.
having a freak out. It's like you literally touched the ball. It's right there. Why would you burn a timeout? Like you're literally punished for lying to your coach or just trying to sell your angle. I like that part of it too.
My other kind of related would be if you want to maybe give more challenges because you think a lot of calls get missed or something, bad college refs, whatever. If you get 5 timeouts per game, they're now timeouts or challenges. So if you use 4 timeouts, you only get 1 challenge. If you use all 5 timeouts, you get 0 challenges. But if you're a coach that doesn't need to call timeout all the time because you prepared your team, you could have 4 challenges. So I
kinda
just
like that.
one or the other, and you can't challenge unless you have a timeout left.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
think that'd be
I
kind
agree.
of fun.
Right? Yeah, Jim.
And then no timeouts added in overtime. Just a quick, I hate that. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, you're in overtime. Deal with it. Like, I don't know. I hate that too.
And hey,
Yeah,
Matt, you can pay refs more and incentivize better refing by giving them more money and education and training. I think that'd be a nice
Yeah,
little
that's been
remedy.
I've been beating that drum for a while. I just don't know if the funds are there to do it. But I do
Oh
think
yeah,
that yeah,
colleges are super poor across the
that's what I'm
country.
saying. You're right. I don't know why I
Yeah,
keep
and
like I just
yeah,
our
assume they're all poor, but you're right. They're not poor.
great
The
and the
Austin
NCAA is
works
NCAA
certainly
for
is
not
not
$2
poor.
poor
million.
either.
dollars.
Well, they'll be
NCAA
broke
just got
after.
fined like $2 billion. Yeah, they're
They'll be
going to
broke
be.
soon, but right now they're very much not broke.
They're just they're also inefficiently run. Like
Yes.
there's money
So
there, it's just being spent inefficiently right now.
So
on
part
Okay,
refs, I
Kai.
did
So on
say,
to
okay, Kai,
I'm sorry. I
go.
say in part to the goaltend review, guys, because
Yep.
when they look back at the goaltend review during the stoppage of play, they can take 2 points off the board, and that team is punished by not getting an opportunity to get a rebound or just
and
get the
most of the
ball.
time,
They
or some
lose
of
the
the times, they
possession.
have a clear recovery of the rebound.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
it
horrible. I can't believe this rule exists. It's
it's the
ridiculous.
it's the most like well-intentioned, complete unintended consequences
Yeah.
thing. Where now
Yep.
it's like, all right, we've seen it. It is awful. The fact that it wasn't fixed the day after the national title game is
Yeah.
insane.
And it's not vice versa. If they don't call a goaltend, you can't go back and award 2 points. That's crazy
Yeah.
Yeah,
too.
no,
That's even worse.
Yeah.
it's an objectively bad rule. There's no, yeah, that's stupid. Luckily, it doesn't
And
happen all that
because
often.
they
But
can't go back and call a goaltend, they're incentivized to call it every time, which
Yeah,
adds to
true.
the amount of times where they screw the offensive team on the rebound, et cetera. Like
Mhm.
it's yeah, that rule was one where like the first time you saw it go wrong, it was like, oh, they screwed this up. They have to fix it.
Yeah.
Like everybody can see that this isn't working, not functioning properly, and I don't think it's been fixed yet. So Kai, great call. Great call.
Okay, that's it.
That's like one that I ramble about during games and I just forgot about when I was preparing for this.
Yeah, it's like, what do I tweet about angrily the most? Reviews.
Yeah, exactly.
reviews,
Absolutely
yeah,
reviews.
it's no question.
All right, so Matt, that was the last big one you had in the chamber.
Yeah, I just on the ref real quick. Slight tangent from that. I know refs are organized by conference, I believe, generally. I would like more sort of like just localized like geographical pockets of refs, because I just was looking at the reports. I forgot who posted this on Twitter, but showed like the guys refereeing like 25 games in 32 days and traveling like
Yeah.
20,000 miles. It's like that can't be
You think it's going
A,
to affect
cost
your
effective,
performance?
or
Yes.
B, great. Although I will say, I always feel like it's not hard to like to ref a game. It's what, 3 hours. It's not like you worked like a 10-hour day. I know you're traveling a ton,
It's really hard.
but I know it's hard. You're under a lot of pressure. I get that. But the actual time spent doing your job, like I understand how guys do it 30 days in a row. Like you could probably do that if you weren't flying like 5 time zones every night. I don't know. So standardized refs, pocket geographically located, and they also are cross league. It just seems like there's always like conference specific beef with certain refs. The game's called differently in the Big Ten than it is in the SEC. Then it's like,
Yeah.
why don't we just have referees like sort of all be blended together so we don't have any of those biases?
I'm all right with it,
Good
Matt. I have not solved officiating. I'm glad that you have. I'm glad
I'm on it.
you got it
I'm on the case.
My always complaint, one shot team technical. If you have your heels on the sideline, don't be an idiot. That's my don't be an idiot team technical. Nothing pisses me off more, whether it's my team or the other team. I'm like, how are you that dumb? Don't have your heels on the line. It's going to cost you a point now,
I
or
believe
potentially a point.
Kellen Sampson said they practice that and they like harp on it. Houston's
Not putting their heels on the
assistant
line?
coach, Kellen Sampson. Yeah.
Oh,
We
love
were in
that.
Houston. He was like, "Yeah, we literally drill our guys. We to not put their
We
heels on the line."
we put hot lava behind both corner 3-point lines. If they step in it, they burn their heel. That'd be great. Yeah, that's obviously not a big one. But if we don't have any other ones, I just want to discuss a couple that people have brought up. We've talked NCAA tournament expansion before. Kai, I think we're just resigned to it generally.
Yeah, don't. It's going to happen, but I hope it doesn't. But it will. It will definitely happen.
Yep. And if it gets to like 80, as Kai said, 2 bids for every conference or something like that. If it's 96, maybe that's what
Incentivize
it is.
mid majors at least. Please.
Yep. And yeah, find a way to level that playing field. WAB is a great first step where every game means something.
Big first step.
Yeah. So hopefully that will lead to more mid-major at larges. That'd be great. We discussed the 24-second shot clock some, so we won't need to do that. How do you guys feel about advancing the ball with timeouts?
Hate
Some
it.
people adore it, want it badly. I'm with Kai. I
It
hate
makes no GD sense. It makes no sense. Why should I get to advance the ball for calling a timeout? It doesn't make sense. I understand you want the game to be exciting at the end of games. It
it.
doesn't
Still
make
is.
sense.
It still is exciting if you
doesn't
have to go
make
the length of the floor.
Why is this a thing in the NBA? Why? I don't
I don't get
understand
it.
this. This is the
Yep.
dumbest rule. The dumbest rule.
The W just introduced reset timeouts, Kai, which are you can't huddle up, you only move the ball up. And I'm like, no, that's
like-
I don't like that either.
So you're rewarding the offense for being scared if the defense is trying to foul them and press them? That's ridiculous. Like I just
Yeah.
can't stand that.
I don't like
Yeah,
it either.
It's a coward move.
I agree.
Coward.
I think you get way cooler. Maybe there's a few less buzzer beaters, but you get way cooler buzzer beaters
Yeah.
by not advancing the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
half quarters, the Tyus Edney, sorry.
Like
Mizzou,
flying
I
down the
went
court,
there,
one,
but
two
like-
dribbles, and you got like, yeah, I agree. The buzzer beaters coming out of a full court situation are always the best. Like they'll no NBA buzzer beater will ever top the best college buzzer beaters that are generated from the baseline going the full length of the court.
Yeah,
Always
like-
the best.
Chioza against Wisconsin. There, I just brought up
Yep.
the two teams I cheer for hardest have lost to like full court type buzzer beaters. The Colin Sexton had one to get Alabama in the tournament. His lone year at Alabama, like that was super cool. I love the full
Leitner.
court stuff. I hate advancing the ball. Yeah, Leighton.
Oh
great.
yeah, that Leitner guy, that was cool.
Yeah.
like the
Oh
best
no,
buzzer
that
beater of all
pass
time.
should come from the sideline 20 feet away instead of full court because I don't know if the coach saved a timeout. Great. I think it's dumb.
Yeah,
right, good.
I don't
Glad
get
we're-
it, man. I hate fake manufacturing drama. Like, it's fake. It's fake drama. You don't get to do it.
Yep.
It's stupid. All right, that's it.
One other one to bring up here that I think we'll kind of probably generally agree on, but the Elam ending, which I think is very fun and I enjoy, but it's not something I would force on the sport. That's basic. I know some people hate it. It's super polarizing. They're like, I would not even watch it if that was the case. Fine, I'm not going to push that hard on it, but I do enjoy it, Kai.
It's a cool idea, and I think it's well used in the tournament, but I don't want it in the main sport. No.
Yeah, there's still some things to sort out with like fouling at the end, where it's like designed to stop fouling at the end of the game, but then people foul a ton right before the Elam ending too. So there's still
Yeah, you're still.
Yeah, there's some kinks.
unintended.
It's not perfect enough for me to. I actually love the Elam ending. I just don't think it's bulletproof enough to actually replace the beautiful thing we have now, which is just how basketball's always been.
Yep, tend to agree with you there. A couple proposed rules from Discord/Twitter. A bid limit for conferences. The one guy who said it said 6, which when there's conferences of 18, unfortunately, that's not going to
Yeah.
work. But maybe if we get them down to 11,
It would incentivize them
Okay.
to break them
How
up.
about just 50% of your league? Like, how about make it a percent of teams?
Or you
I
could
don't
say-
mind that.
Or above 500 in your league. Can't
Yeah,
do that.
and even
that's
that,
one where if there was true
imbalance.
double
Even
round robin in
schedule,
every
right,
conference,
right.
Yeah.
then you could have to be at least 500.
Key takeaway of today's podcast: round robin scheduling
But-
cures all.
With mega
Yeah.
conferences, I don't think you can do this because there are 4 leagues now that have, let's face it, the best teams in college basketball. You can't limit the field to just 6 from each of those conferences. It's not.
I
Gonna,
don't
you don't
I
want
don't hate the percentage thing Matt's saying. Like, yeah, okay, we have an 18 team conference. 9 going is a lot already, but yeah, I don't know what's the most.
Yeah, I'm doing the
Big East
ACC
got,
right
like,
now.
10
There's
once or something?
I
18.
think there's
Oh yeah,
been
most
10.
teams are
Maybe 11. Maybe 11.
Maybe 11. Somebody got 11. once.
SEC or Big
That is
10.
crazy.
But yeah, Matt, I'm writing the Big Ten. Like every team, I'm like, yeah, they could
Got a chance.
make the tournament. They got a chance this year. And yeah, if you had like a hard and fast limit, maybe it makes the regular season, the conference games even more heated and exciting. But again, without double round robin, it's hard to fully mandate that. So yeah, we talked NBA challenge rules. We talked regular season champ. Love the undefeated gets the auto bid. It happens so rarely that it wouldn't like totally ruin conference tournaments. But I love that idea. I think that's generally it. Fellas, anything else we need to get to before we close up?
Just one more. Don't expand the 3-point line again. Don't make it NBA. I know it'll be a topic of conversation someday. That's a far shot. That is hard. These guys are not pros. It will be disgusting if that ever happens.
Yeah, the dip in. I mean, maybe you get the right people taking them again. Then it's suddenly It's not
Maybe
5 out type stuff, but
I think
yeah.
we have the right. I think right now it
The
feels
right
like it's the right length. It does.
Yeah.
I also like the idea that the mid range is going to make a comeback. I think that's a cool thing for the game of basketball, which is like it's
Yeah, man.
almost.
You can be efficient.
I wonder it's
mid-range.
going to be two. It's going to be like 2-3 outcome like baseball. Maybe if it gets to like rim and three and nothing else is a good shot and no one takes a mid ranger, it's like
Yeah.
I kind of like the mid range having like an undervalued comeback and resurgence.
What's that? Yeah. Especially as like defenses start to just like fully try to take away rim and three. Those are the shots that are open. And hopefully the youths will get better at shooting the mid-range.
God bless them. God bless the youths.
Yeah, I think that's it, fellas. Matt, any last thoughts?
No thoughts.
Okay.
Reviews? Question mark?
No
Don't have
reviews.
any.
No reviews this week. So that means we are closing it up. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Thank you to the chat. We did get some good activity there as the pod went on. Appreciate everybody allowing us to have our week off last week. Happy 4th of July. But yeah, we're getting into the summer. We've got a couple guests that we're lining up, hopefully for the next couple of weeks. I actually talked to one guys that you don't know about. I'll let you know off air. So working on that. Definitely got some good stuff coming over the rest of July and August before we get to preview season in September. One less power conference to preview. So one less pod covered there. But yeah, that's it. Enjoy your summer, folks.